Maya Johnson sat quietly in the hard wooden chair, waiting for her name to be called. The courtroom was cold and unwelcoming, filled with the sound of papers shuffling and people whispering. She looked around at the other people waiting for their turn. Some looked nervous, others looked angry, and a few looked like they had been here many times before. Maya was different from most of the people in the room. She was only 19 years old, but there was something calm and steady about the way she sat. Her dark eyes moved carefully around the room, taking in every detail. She wore simple blue jeans, white sneakers, and a gray hoodie that made her look like any other college student. Her long black hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she carried a small backpack on her lap. At the front of the room sat Judge Harold Bennett, a man in his late 50s with gray hair and cold blue eyes. He had been a judge for over 20 years, and everyone in the courthouse knew about his bad temper. Judge Bennett did not like young people, especially young black people. He thought they were all troublemakers who did not respect the law. The judge looked at his papers with a frown on his face. He was tired and wanted to get through all the cases quickly so he could go home. When he looked up and saw Maya sitting in the front row, he shook his head. Another young person who probably did something stupid, he thought to himself. Officer Carlos Martinez, the bailiff who kept order in the courtroom, called out in a loud voice, "Case number 2847, Maya Johnson, traffic violation." Maya stood up, slowly, and walked toward the front of the room. Her steps were quiet and confident, and she kept her head up as she moved. Judge Bennett barely looked at her as she approached his desk. He was already reading the next case file, acting like Maya was not even there. Maya stopped at the right spot and waited politely for the judge to speak to her. "Miss Johnson," Judge Bennett said without looking up, "you got a speeding ticket on Highway 95 last month. How do you plead?" Maya cleared her throat softly. "Your Honor, I would like to explain what happened that day. I believe there may have been some mistakes in how the ticket was given to me." Judge Bennett finally looked up, and Maya could see the annoyance in his eyes. "Mistakes?" he said with a nasty smile. "Let me guess. You were not really speeding, right? The police officer was wrong, right? Young lady, I hear this same story 10 times every day. Sir, if I could just explain the facts of what happened," Maya began, but Judge Bennett cut her off with a wave of his hand. "Facts?" Judge Bennett laughed, but it was not a nice laugh. "The fact is that you young people today think you can do whatever you want. You drive too fast, you play your music too loud, and then you come into my courtroom and waste my time with your excuses." Maya felt her face get warm, but she kept her voice calm and respectful. "Your Honor, I am not making excuses. I would like to present evidence that shows—" "Evidence?" Judge Bennett interrupted again, this time speaking louder. "What evidence could you possibly have? Did you go to law school? Are you a lawyer now?" He laughed again, and some people in the courtroom started to look uncomfortable. Patricia Johnson, Maya's mother, was sitting in the back of the courtroom. She watched her daughter being treated badly and felt her hands shake with anger. She wanted to stand up and tell the judge to show some respect, but she knew that would only make things worse for Maya. Maya took a deep breath and tried again. "Sir, I am asking for the chance to defend myself, which is my right under the law." Judge Bennett's face turned red. "You're right? Young lady, you are in my courtroom now. You will speak when I tell you to speak. You will listen when I tell you to listen. And right now I am telling you to stop wasting everyone's time with your amateur legal talk." Linda White, the court reporter who typed down everything that was said, stopped typing and stared at the judge. In all her years working in the courthouse, she had never seen a judge be so rude to someone who was being polite and respectful. Amanda Clark, a defense lawyer who was waiting for her own case to be called, started writing notes on a piece of paper. She could not believe what she was seeing. Judge Bennett was acting in a way that was not right and not fair. Maya stood quietly for a moment, thinking carefully about what to say next. She could feel everyone in the courtroom watching her. Some people felt sorry for her, and others were angry at how the judge was treating her. "Your Honor," Maya said in a voice that was still calm and respectful, "I am not trying to waste anyone's time. I just want to make sure that justice is done in this case." Judge Bennett slammed his hand down on his desk, making a loud bang that scared everyone in the room. "Justice?" I will tell you what justice is. Justice is you paying your fine and learning your lesson. Justice is you showing some respect for the law and for this court. Jake Morrison, the prosecutor, shifted in his chair. He had worked with Judge Bennett many times before, but even he thought the judge was going too far this time. The young woman was not being disrespectful. She was just trying to defend herself. Maya looked directly at Judge Bennett. Sir, I do respect the law. That is exactly why I am here asking for my case to be heard fairly. Judge Bennett's voice got even louder. Fairly? You think I am not being fair? Maybe you think you know more about the law than I do? Maybe you think you are smarter than everyone else in this room. The courtroom was completely quiet now. Everyone could feel the tension in the air. Maya's mother gripped the edge of her seat, worried about what might happen next. Maya did not back down. She looked at Judge Bennett with steady eyes and said, I think everyone deserves to have their case heard with respect no matter who they are or what they look like. Judge Bennett's face got even redder. He was not used to young people standing up to him, especially not young black women. Well, let me tell you something, Miss Johnson. In my courtroom you will get exactly the respect you deserve, and from what I can see that is not very much. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Everyone in the courtroom knew that something very wrong was happening, but no one knew what to do about it. Maya stood there, still calm, still dignified. Even though she was being treated terribly, she had made her decision. It was time to show Judge Bennett who he was really dealing with. Judge Bennett leaned back in his big leather chair and looked down at Maya like she was something dirty on his shoe. His cold blue eyes moved from her sneakers to her hoodie, and his mouth twisted into an ugly smile. Let me tell you what I see. When I look at you, Miss Johnson, he said in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, I see another young person who thinks the rules do not apply to them. I see someone who will probably be back in my courtroom again next month for something else. Maya felt her heart beating faster, but she kept her face calm. She had been taught to never let people see when their words hurt her. Your Honor, you do not know anything about me or my life. Judge Bennett laughed, but it was a mean laugh that made people in the courtroom feel uncomfortable. Oh, but I do know about you. I have seen hundreds of kids just like you. You probably dropped out of school. You probably do not have a job. Your parents probably do not even know where you are right now. Patricia Johnson stood up quickly in the back of the courtroom. Her face was full of anger and pain. That is my daughter you are talking about, and you have no right to say those things about her. Judge Bennett's face turned red with anger. Ma'am, you will sit down and be quiet or I will have you removed from my courtroom. Your daughter is the one on trial here, not me. Officer Martinez looked worried. He had worked in this courtroom for 5 years, and he had never seen Judge Bennett act this badly. He wanted to say something, but he knew he could lose his job if he spoke up against the judge. Patricia Johnson sat back down, but her hands were shaking with anger. She watched her daughter standing there, still calm and strong, and felt proud and scared at the same time. Judge Bennett turned back to Maya. Now, as I was saying before your mother interrupted me, I know exactly what kind of person you are. You probably think you are smart because you watch some lawyer show on TV. You probably think you can come into my courtroom and outsmart me. Maya took a deep breath. Sir, I am not trying to outsmart anyone. I just want the chance to tell my side of the story. That is what the law says I have the right to do. The law? Judge Bennett's voice got even louder. Do not talk to me about the law, young lady. I have been practicing law since before you were born. I know more about the law than you will ever know. Amanda Clark, the defense lawyer sitting in the front row, was writing down everything Judge Bennett said. She had been a lawyer for 10 years, and she knew that what the judge was doing was very wrong. Judges were supposed to be fair and respectful to everyone, no matter what they looked like or how old they were. Maya looked around the courtroom and saw that everyone was watching her. Some people looked sorry for her and others looked angry at the judge. But Maya did not want their pity. She wanted justice. Your Honor, Maya said, her voice still calm and clear. I would like to ask you to look at the details of my case before you make your decision. Judge Bennett slammed his hand on his desk again, making everyone jump. Details? The only detail that matters is that you were speeding. The police officer saw you speeding. He gave you a ticket. Now you pay the fine. That is how the law works. But sir, if I could just show you the evidence that Maya began. Evidence? Judge Bennett interrupted, his voice full of sarcasm. What evidence could you possibly have? Did you bring your own police officer? Did you bring your own radar gun? Or maybe you have some legal papers that you printed off the internet? Jake Morrison, the prosecutor, felt very uncomfortable. He had been working as a prosecutor for 8 years, and he had never seen a judge treat someone this way. Even people who had committed serious crimes were treated with more respect than this young woman was getting. Maya reached into her backpack and pulled out a folder. Sir, I have documentation that shows... Judge Bennett cut her off before she could finish. Put that away. I do not want to see your little folder of excuses. You know what your problem is, Miss Johnson? Your problem is that you think you are special. You think the world owes you something. The court reporter, Linda White, stopped typing and stared at the judge. She had been working in courtrooms for 15 years, and she had never heard a judge say things like this to someone who was just trying to defend themselves. Maya felt her face get warm, but she did not let her anger show. Your Honor, I do not think I am special. I just think I deserve to be treated fairly, like every other person who comes into this courtroom. Judge Bennett's eyes got narrow and mean. Fairly? You want to be treated fairly? Let me tell you what fair is. Fair is that you are even allowed to be in my courtroom. Fair is that I am taking time out of my busy day to listen to your excuses. Fair is that you are not sitting in jail right now. Patricia Johnson felt tears in her eyes as she watched her daughter being humiliated. She wanted to run up to the front of the courtroom and protect Maya, but she knew that would only make things worse. Maya stood perfectly still and looked directly at Judge Bennett. Sir, threatening to put me in jail for asking to defend myself is not fair, it is not right, and it is not legal. Judge Bennett's face turned purple with rage. Legal? Are you telling me what is legal? Are you telling me how to do my job? Maybe you think you should be sitting up here instead of me? Maybe you think you should be the judge. The courtroom was so quiet that people could hear their own hearts beating. Everyone knew they were watching something terrible happen, but no one knew how to stop it. Amanda Clark was writing as fast as she could, trying to get down every word Judge Bennett said. She knew that someone would need to report this behavior to the people who could do something about it. Maya took another deep breath and spoke in a voice that was still calm, even though everyone could see that she was upset. Your Honor, I have never said that I think I should be the judge. I have only asked for the same respect that you would give to any other person who came into your courtroom. Judge Bennett stood up from his chair, making himself look even bigger and more scary. Respect? You want respect? Then maybe you should start acting like you deserve it. Maybe you should stop wasting my time with your amateur legal theories. Maybe you should just pay your fine and get out of my courtroom. Maya looked at him with steady eyes. And maybe, Your Honor, you should remember that every person who comes into your courtroom deserves to be treated with dignity, no matter what they look like or how old they are. The words hung in the air like thunder. Judge Bennett was so angry that his hands were shaking. He had never had anyone, especially not a young black woman, speak to him like that in his own courtroom. He was about to learn that he had made a very big mistake. Judge Bennett was getting ready to make his final decision. He picked up his gavel and was about to bang it down on his desk when Maya spoke up again. Your Honor, before you make your ruling, I would like to ask for permission to represent myself in this matter. Judge Bennett stopped with his gavel in the air. He looked at Maya like she had just said something crazy. Represent yourself? What are you talking about? Maya stood up straighter and spoke clearly. According to the Sixth Amendment to the Constitution and the case of Ferretta versus California from 1975, every person has the right to represent themselves in court if they choose to do so. The courtroom became very quiet. Everyone stared at Maya. How did a 19-year-old girl in a hoodie know about court cases from 1975? Jake Morrison, the prosecutor, looked up from his papers with surprise. He had been a lawyer for 8 years, and he knew that what Maya just said was exactly right. But how did she know that? Judge Bennett's mouth fell open a little bit. He had not expected Maya to know anything about real law. Well, that is, you can represent yourself if you want to, but it will not change anything. You were still speeding. Maya nodded politely. Thank you, Your Honor. Now I would like to examine the evidence that the state is using against me. She walked over to the prosecutor's table where Jake Morrison was sitting. Mr. Morrison, may I please see the radar calibration records for the device that was used to measure my speed? Jake Morrison looked confused. The what records? The radar calibration records, Maya repeated calmly. The law requires that all radar devices used by police must be tested and calibrated regularly to make sure they are working correctly. I would like to see the records that show when the radar gun was last tested. Jake Morrison started looking through his papers quickly. He had never had anyone ask him for radar calibration records before. Most people just paid their tickets and went home. Judge Bennett was starting to look worried. Young lady, you are making this much more complicated than it needs to be. Maya turned to face the judge. Your Honor, I am simply asking for the evidence that proves I was actually speeding. Without proper calibration records, there is no way to know if the radar gun was working correctly. Officer Martinez, who had given Maya the ticket, was sitting in the back of the courtroom. He started to sweat a little bit. He could not remember the last time anyone had checked the calibration on his radar gun. Amanda Clark, the defense lawyer, stopped writing and started paying very close attention. Maya was asking all the right questions. These were the kinds of questions that experienced lawyers asked, not teenagers who got traffic tickets. Maya continued speaking. I would also like to examine the officer's training records to make sure he was properly trained to use the radar device. Judge Bennett's face was getting red again, but this time it was not just from anger. He was starting to feel embarrassed. Miss Johnson, where did you learn about all this legal stuff? Maya smiled for the first time since she had entered the courtroom. I have been studying the law, Your Honor. I believe it is important for every citizen to understand their rights. Jake Morrison finally found the file he was looking for, but when he opened it, his face went pale. Your Honor, I do not seem to have the calibration records with me today. Maya nodded like she had expected this. That is interesting, Mr. Morrison. According to State Code Section 12456, all radar evidence must be accompanied by current calibration records, or it cannot be used in court. Linda White, the court reporter, had started typing again, but she kept looking up at Maya with amazement. This young woman knew more about traffic law than most of the lawyers who came into this courtroom. Judge Bennett was starting to panic. Now wait just a minute. You cannot just throw around legal codes like that. Maya reached into her backpack and pulled out a thick book. This is the current state code, Your Honor. Section 12456 is right here on page 847. Would you like me to read it out loud? The judge stared at the book in Maya's hands. It was the real state code book, the same one that lawyers used. Where did you get that? I bought it, Your Honor. Every citizen has the right to own and read the laws that govern them. Maya opened the book to the right page. Section 12456 states, any speed detection device used in law enforcement must be calibrated within 30 days of use, and calibration records must be presented as evidence in any court proceeding involving speed detection. Jake Morrison was looking through all his papers now, getting more and more worried. Your Honor, I am going to need to request a continuance so I can get the proper records. Maya shook her head. Mr. Morrison, I would also like to point out that according to the officer's report, he claims he observed me traveling at 67 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone. She walked over to Officer Martinez. Officer, is that correct? Officer Martinez nodded. Yes, that is what I wrote in my report. Maya pulled out a piece of paper from her folder. Officer, this is a map of Highway 95 at the location where you say you stopped me. Can you show me exactly where you were positioned when you used your radar gun? The officer looked at the map, then pointed to a spot. I was right there, behind those trees. Maya smiled again. Thank you, officer. Now, can you tell me how far that location is from where you say I was driving? Officer Martinez looked at the map again. I would say about Maybe 200 yards? Maya nodded. 200 yards. That is 600 feet. Officer, did you know that most radar guns are only accurate up to about 300 feet? The year. Officer's face went white. I did not know that. Judge Bennett was gripping his gavel so tight that his knuckles were white. Miss Johnson, how do you know all this information? Maya looked at the judge with calm, steady eyes. Your Honor, I know this information because I have spent a lot of time studying the law. I have read hundreds of court cases. I have studied police procedures and evidence rules. She paused and looked around the courtroom. I know this information because I believe that knowledge is power, and every person should have the power to defend themselves. Patricia Johnson was watching her daughter with tears of pride in her eyes. She had always known Maya was smart, but she had never seen her like this before. Amanda Clark was writing down everything Maya said, but she was also studying Maya's face. There was something about this young woman that did not add up. She knew too much. She was too calm. She was too prepared. Judge Bennett tried one more time to take control. Well, even if all of this is true, you were still probably speeding. Maya looked at him with a small smile. Your Honor, in America, people are not convicted of crimes based on what they probably did. They are convicted based on evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that they did something wrong. She gestured toward the prosecutor's table. Mr. Morrison has no calibration records. Officer Martinez was too far away for an accurate reading. There is no evidence that proves I was speeding. The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone was staring at Maya like they had never seen her before. Judge Bennett realized that he was in serious trouble. This was not just any teenager. This was someone who knew the law as well as any lawyer he had ever seen. Maya looked at him and said quietly, Your Honor, I think it is time for you to learn exactly who you have been talking to. Maya reached into her backpack one more time. Everyone in the courtroom watched as she pulled out a brown envelope. She opened it slowly and carefully, like she was opening something very important. Your Honor, Maya said in a clear, strong voice, I think it is time to tell you who I really am. Judge Bennett's hands were shaking now. He had a feeling that whatever was in that envelope was going to change everything. What are you talking about? Maya pulled out a piece of paper and held it up so everyone could see it. This is my law degree from Harvard Law School. I graduated last month at the top of my class. The courtroom exploded with gasps and whispers. People could not believe what they were hearing. Jake Morrison dropped his pen. Officer Martinez's mouth fell open. Linda White stopped typing and stared. Judge Bennett's face went completely white. That cannot be real. Maya walked up to his desk and placed the diploma in front of him. You can examine it, Your Honor. It is completely real. My name is Maya Johnson, and I have a Juris Doctor degree from Harvard Law School. Judge Bennett picked up the diploma with shaking hands. It looked real. It felt real. The seal of Harvard Law School was right there at the bottom. But you are just a teenager. You look so young. Maya smiled. I am 19 years old, Your Honor. I started college when I was 14. I finished my undergraduate degree when I was 17. I just finished law school last month. She reached into the envelope again and pulled out another piece of paper. This is my certificate showing that I passed the bar exam. I am now a licensed attorney in this state. Patricia Johnson stood up in the back of the courtroom, tears streaming down her face. That is my baby girl, she called out. I am so proud of you, Maya. Amanda Clark stood up too. She recognized Maya now. I remember reading about you in the legal newspapers, she said. You were the youngest person to ever graduate from Harvard Law School. Maya nodded. That is correct. I was also the first person in my family to go to college. Judge Bennett was looking at the bar certificate now. His hands were shaking so badly that he could barely hold the paper. Why did you not tell me this from the beginning? Maya looked at him with calm eyes. Because I wanted to see how you would treat someone who you thought was just a regular teenager. I wanted to see if you would be fair to someone who looked like me. She walked back to where she had been standing. Your Honor, I came here today as part of my research for my new job. I'm going to be working for the Civil Rights Legal Foundation. We study how judges treat different types of people in their courtrooms. Jake Morrison finally found his voice. You mean this whole thing was a test? Maya shook her head. No, Mr. Morrison. The traffic ticket is real. I really did get stopped by Officer Martinez, but I also knew that this would be a good opportunity to see how Judge Bennett treats young people and minorities. She pulled a small device out of her pocket. This is a digital recorder. Everything that has happened in this courtroom today has been recorded. Since court proceedings are public record, this is completely legal. Judge Bennett looked like he was going to be sick. You recorded everything? Yes, Your Honor, I recorded every word you said to me. I recorded how you interrupted me when I tried to speak. I recorded how you made assumptions about my background and my family. I recorded how you threatened to put me in jail for asking to defend myself. Officer Martinez was sweating now. He realized that his mistake with the radar gun was also on the recording. Attorney Johnson, I am sorry about the radar thing. I really thought I was doing my job right. Maya looked at him kindly. Officer Martinez, I understand that you were trying to do your job, but it is important for police officers to be properly trained and to follow the rules. When you do not follow the rules, innocent people can be hurt. Amanda Clark walked up to Maya. I remember reading that you turned down job offers from some of the biggest law firms in the country to work for the Civil Rights Foundation. Why did you make that choice? Maya smiled. Because I want to help people who cannot help themselves. I want to make sure that everyone gets treated fairly in court, no matter what they look like or how much money they have. Judge Bennett was still staring at Maya's credentials. I do not understand. If you are really a lawyer, why did you not just tell me that from the beginning? Why did you let me? Let you what, Your Honor? Maya asked. Let you show your true character? Let you reveal how you really feel about people who look like me? She walked closer to his desk. Judge Bennett, you spent the last hour telling me that I was probably a dropout, that I did not have a job, that my parents did not care about me. You said all of those things without knowing anything about me except what I looked like. Judge Bennett put his head in his hands. Oh my God. What have I done? Maya's voice was still calm, but now it was also firm. You have shown everyone in this courtroom that you judge people based on their skin color and their age, not on who they really are or what they have done. Linda White had started typing again, trying to capture every word of this amazing conversation. Maya continued. You have shown that you do not believe in the basic principle that all people deserve to be treated with respect and dignity in a court of law. Jake Morrison stood up. Your Honor, in light of this new information, the state would like to drop all charges against Attorney Johnson. It is clear that our case has serious problems. Judge Bennett nodded weakly. Yes, the charges are dropped, but Maya was not finished. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. But dropping the charges is not enough. Judge Bennett, your behavior today was not just rude. It was a violation of judicial ethics. It was a violation of my constitutional rights. She held up the recording device again. I am going to file a formal complaint with the Judicial Conduct Board. I am going to use this recording to show them exactly how you treat people in your courtroom. Judge Bennett looked up at her with fear in his eyes. Please, Miss Johnson. Attorney Johnson, I am sorry. I made a mistake. I was having a bad day. Maya shook her head. Judge Bennett, this was not just a bad day. This was a pattern of behavior that has probably hurt many people before me. How many other young people have you treated this way? How many other minorities have been denied fair treatment in your courtroom? The judge could not answer. He knew Maya was right. Maya packed her papers back into her envelope. Your Honor, I hope that this experience will teach you something important. I hope it will teach you that you cannot judge people by how they look. I hope it will teach you that every person who comes into your courtroom deserves respect. She turned to leave, then stopped and looked back at him. And I hope it will teach you that sometimes the person standing in front of you might be much more than you think they are. As Maya walked toward the exit, the entire courtroom was silent. Everyone knew they had just witnessed something that would change everything. 3 weeks after the day in court, Maya sat in her new office at the Civil Rights Legal Foundation. The office was small but bright, with big windows that let in lots of sunlight. On her desk was a stack of letters from people who had heard her story and wanted to tell her about their own experiences with unfair judges. Maya's phone rang. It was her supervisor, Robert Kim, calling from down the hall. "Maya, can you come to my office? There is someone here who wants to meet you." Maya walked down the hallway to Robert's office. Sitting in a chair across from his desk was Amanda Clark, the defense lawyer who had been in Judge Bennett's courtroom that day. "Hello, Maya," Amanda said with a big smile. "I have been hoping to talk to you ever since that amazing day in court." Maya sat down in the chair next to Amanda. "It is nice to see you again, Amanda. How can I help you?" Amanda leaned forward. "I wanted to let you know that 5 more people have come forward with stories about Judge Bennett treating them badly. They all said that what you did gave them the courage to speak up." Robert Kim nodded. "Maya, your case has started something very important. People are finally talking about judges who are not fair to minorities and young people." Maya felt proud, but also sad. "I'm glad that people are speaking up, but I'm sorry that so many people have been hurt." Amanda pulled a newspaper out of her bag. "Have you seen today's paper? There is a big story about Judge Bennett on the front page." Maya looked at the headline. It said, "Local Judge Under Investigation for Bias Against Minorities." Below the headline was a picture of Judge Bennett looking very worried as he walked into the courthouse. "The Judicial Conduct Board is taking your complaint very seriously," Amanda said. "They are looking at all of Judge Bennett's old cases to see if he treated other people unfairly too." Robert Kim added, "The board has also decided to require all judges in the state to take special training about treating people fairly, no matter what they look like or how old they are." Maya smiled. "That is exactly what I was hoping would happen. I did not want to destroy Judge Bennett's life. I just wanted to make sure that other people would not be treated the way he treated me." Amanda nodded. "You handled that situation with such grace and dignity. I have been a lawyer for 10 years and I have never seen anything like it." Maya's phone buzzed with a text message. It was from her mother. "Turn on Channel 5 News right now." Maya, Robert, and Amanda all crowded around the small television in Robert's office. The news anchor was talking about Maya's case. "This week, a 19-year-old Harvard Law graduate showed us all what it means to stand up for justice," the anchor said. "Maya Johnson's courage in the face of judicial bias has sparked a statewide conversation about fairness in our courts." The television showed a video of Maya walking out of the courthouse 3 weeks ago. She looked calm and confident, even though she had just been through a very difficult experience. The news anchor continued. "Judge Harold Bennett has been suspended from hearing cases while the Judicial Conduct Board investigates complaints about his behavior. The board says they have received over 50 calls from people who say Judge Bennett treated them unfairly." Maya felt her heart sink a little. 50 people? That means this has been going on for a long time. Amanda put her hand on Maya's shoulder. "Maya, you did not cause this problem. You just shined a light on it. Those 50 people were being hurt, whether you spoke up or not. At least now they have a chance to get justice." The television switched to an interview with Patricia Johnson, Maya's mother. She was standing in their living room holding Maya's Harvard diploma. "I have always been proud of my daughter," Patricia said, tears in her eyes. "But I have never been more proud than I was that day in court. She showed that education and knowledge can be more powerful than hatred and prejudice." Maya wiped away a tear. Her mother had worked 2 jobs to help pay for Maya's education. Seeing her so proud made all the hard work worth it. Robert Kim turned off the television. "Maya, I have some more good news. The State Bar Association wants to give you an award for your work in promoting judicial fairness." Maya looked surprised. "An award? But I was just defending myself." "No," Amanda said. "You were defending all of us. You were defending everyone who has ever been judged unfairly because of how they look." Over the next few months, Maya's story spread across the country. Law schools started using her case as an example of how lawyers should stand up for justice. The recording of Judge Bennett's behavior was played in courtrooms and law schools to teach people about the importance of treating everyone fairly. Judge Bennett was eventually forced to retire early. He had to take classes about bias and prejudice, and he had to write letters of apology to everyone he had treated unfairly. He also had to do community service at a legal aid clinic, helping poor people with their legal problems. Officer Martinez received better training on how to use radar guns correctly. He also took classes about treating all people with respect during traffic stops. He wrote a letter to Maya thanking her for teaching him how to do his job better. Jake Morrison, the prosecutor, became one of Maya's biggest supporters. He started a program in his office to make sure that prosecutors always had the right evidence before taking people to court. 6 months after that day in court, Maya was walking through the courthouse on her way to another case. She passed Judge Bennett's old courtroom, which now had a new judge named Judge Maria Santos. Through the open door, Maya could see Judge Santos talking kindly to a young man who looked nervous and scared. The judge was explaining his rights to him and making sure he understood what was happening. Maya smiled and kept walking. This was what justice was supposed to look like. That evening, Maya sat in her apartment working on a case for a teenage boy who had been treated unfairly by a different judge. Her phone rang. It was a reporter from a national newspaper who wanted to interview her about her work. "Attorney Johnson," the reporter said, "people are calling you a hero. How does that make you feel?" Maya thought for a moment. "I do not think I am a hero. I think I am just someone who believes that all people deserve to be treated fairly. The real heroes are all the people who have faced unfair treatment and never gave up hope." She looked out her window at the city lights. "My grandmother used to tell me that education is the one thing that nobody can ever take away from you. She was right. Knowledge gave me the power to stand up for myself and for others." Maya hung up the phone and went back to work on her case. There were still many people who needed help, and she was ready to fight for all of them. Outside her window, the city was quiet and peaceful, but inside her small apartment, the light stayed on late into the night as Maya worked to make the world a little more fair for everyone.